Yesterday, Maria posed a question, which I really liked. What goal did you set for yourself for this year, and how can you make it bigger? And I loved that question because it's not just about goal setting, it's about not playing small, right? We can set some goals, but if we're playing small, then of course we're going to hit it, or, it's not going to drive us to hit it if it's not big enough. And so I wanted to share from just that question that she posed and how are you going to make it bigger? It's for me for 2025 is to double the amount of corporations I've worked with in the last couple of years since I've been doing this work. And I want to do it in person, and I want to do more retreats in cool places. So that is my big audacious goal. So does anybody have any big audacious goals they want to share? They could put in the chat. We really want to get that everyone started. Thank you guys for being here today, and welcome to today's session on peak performance success. This is going to be recorded, and you'll have access to it until Sunday at midnight. And we're going to send out yesterday's recording, today's recording, and tomorrow's recording. So you'll have an opportunity to review anything that you want to take a look at, or if for some reason you missed it. My colleagues are going to share the action guide if you have not had a chance to print that out yet or take a look at it. If you need that, let's get started. Okay, so welcome everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are, to Empower 2025, Reaching New Heights, where we're going to talk about peak performance success and how to make it sustainable. I'm Ivette Flower, the founder of Flower Solutions, and I work with teams to increase sales by 30%. I am thrilled to guide you through this session because we're going to unlock how to make your mindset more resilient and how to drive sustainable change so you could become more productive. Also, not just being productive and being busy for busy's sake, but to have more energy so you can focus on what matters most to you. Now, my world is in sales. I've been in sales for over 20 years. So today's session is going to be geared a little bit towards sales strategies. But if you are in the business to motivate, inspire, or persuade anyone on your team, or your colleagues, or perhaps even your teenagers, you are in the right place, and you're going to learn how to use sales strategies to your advantage. So before we dive in, I would love to hear in the chat, if you can type in the chat, did you make a New Year's resolution? Do you hate New Year's resolutions? Put that in the chat, and Yvette will let me know who's participating.
Lots of no's, a couple yeses, but more no's.
And more no's.
No, and don't care.
That's a good one. Yeah. New Year's resolutions are a little different, aren't they? For me as well. I feel the same. But are you familiar with something called National Quitters Day? Raise your hand. Actually, if you could turn on your cameras, I have to tell you, I really don't like online presentations because it feels like I'm just talking to a screen. So if you're in a space where you're comfortable enough to turn on your camera, I would love to see your faces. Okay, so if you are familiar with National Quitters Day, guess what? It's the second Friday of January. And that was January 10th. So applause for yourself for being here and being open to learning something new, whether or not you did a New Year's resolution, whether or not you quit your New Year's resolution or you hate those, because it's now the end of January and you are here. So congratulations. Have you ever looked at people and wondered how it seems that they have it all together while the rest of us grapple with inconsistent sales, maybe some communication issues, or simply staying motivated for more than 2 weeks? Well, guess what? That was me. I thrived for over 15 years in a high demand sales role in the pharmaceutical and trade show industry until one day I couldn't even remember the words to keys. So on the outside, I looked like I was doing great, but inside I was struggling. And I was struggling because I call myself a recovering perfectionist, but at that time, I had to, everything I did had to be at 100%, 100% effort. I micromanaged my clients, my kids, and secretly I wanted to outperform my colleagues, even if it meant that I had to skip lunch, even if it meant I had to be late for pickups at school. I owed my kids a lot of Starbucks at the time. So I'm going to share more about my journey later, but I want you to understand that just because somebody looks like they have it all together doesn't mean they do. So whether you're an aspiring leader, a C-suite executive, a sales executive, a stay-at-home parent, or a small business owner, today we're going to explore how to transform your approach to peak performance and grow your resilient mindset, boost productivity, and drive sustained change. Are you ready? Who's ready for a breakthrough? I hope you all are. I hope that's why you're here. Many of my clients know in order to have a breakthrough, they need to be engaged. They need to turn off distractions. And, oh, I see some thumbs up. Thank you, Diane. And they have to ask questions. This is not just the Ivette show, the other Ivette show, or the Maria show. We want this to be for you. Most importantly, I want you not to listen to that inner critic that Maria talked about yesterday, called the judge, that may say something like this. Oh, I don't need to know that. Or, yeah, that'll work for somebody else, but not me. Because that's just limiting your potential and keeping you from new opportunities for growth. Instead, I want you to think of this in a different way and say, what is it that I want to be different in 2025? What is possible when I apply one new mindset to meet my goals? One new mindset strategy, or perhaps one new concept to my routine. I would love to take a quick poll, and Maria, if you could help me. The question here is going to be, how do your top saboteurs show up in your life or your career? If you could please click on one and submit it. I'll give you guys a few more seconds.
Votes are coming in.
And can you read the results when they do?
Yes. Okay, I think we are slowing down. I'm going to just share it with all of you.
Oh, 70%. It's messing with my peace of mind. 20%. Ooh, there goes my dog. Sorry, guys. We were worried the phone was going to ring. Didn't think about the dog. My relationships could use some TLC. My work performance is not as strong as it used to be. So the majority here, it's messing with my peace of mind, which also translates, it's messing with my well-being. And what I want you to know from this anonymous poll that we just did is that you're not in this alone. You're not doing this by yourself. This is what sabotage does to us, and everybody has it. Okay, so if you are feeling the pressure to perform, you are in the right place. If you're feeling the pressure to perform in your role, especially if you don't have the support or the confidence you need to succeed, you are in the right place if self-doubt is holding you back from advancing in your career. You are in the right place if you are mentally and financially exhausted due to inconsistent sales from your team or from yourself. And you are in the right place if you know in your heart that your team's personal growth and their peace of mind is just as critical as perfecting your processes and your tools. Does that describe anybody here? I see some hands. Yeah, some nods. That's good. You're in the right place. I promise not to waste your time. So no matter what you've tried, what has worked, what has not worked, I'm going to share with you a framework that's going to help you where you are now and where you want to be. It's a proven framework to not only strengthen your mental fitness, but your resilience. And it's going to help you shift from reactive to proactive thinking. It's going to help you recover from setbacks quickly, and it's going to drive sustainable success. It's worked for me. It's worked for my clients. It's worked for Ivette and Maria's clients, and it'll work for you. And what I'm about to share has worked for 98% of participants. Hopefully that is you as well. And you don't have to hold your breath and cross your fingers like this woman does to see if it's going to work for you. In the chat, I would like to know, are you a high achiever or an aspiring high achiever? Maybe let me just define what high achiever means. It's someone who is highly goal-oriented, self-directed, and is driven by purpose. They not only pursue success, but they ensure that their goals are aligned with their core values. While they are motivated to achieve, they make time to enjoy life and appreciate the journey. So when it's done well, they manage stress and they can handle life challenges with grace. Yvette, could you share with us anybody in the polls that consider themselves a high achiever?
The majority of, yeah, the majority say yes.
Okay. And maybe with that definition, you might consider yourself one or an aspiring one. Because the big thing for me was enjoying the journey along the way. And I'll talk more about that. But I feel like high achievers are determined. It's a true essence, even when they were little, before the world came at them and told them you can't do, you can do, you shouldn't do. Maybe there were some life challenges that came your way and then it derailed you a little bit. It really is who you are at your essence. And so at age 10, I was already a high achiever. I was determined to get a gold star from my teachers. I also won trips to Disneyland for winning Bible drills. I was voted junior and senior class president and got to plan all the trips and all of the activities for the school. And later in sales, I was rewarded. Those gold stars turned into trips to Hawaii, trips to the Bahama, and all kinds of free stuff, including free lunch. So for me, being a high achiever meant, ooh, I'm going to go for that. I'm going to excel in this. And it served me for a long time until one day I pushed myself too hard. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, I was saying yes to too many things. And then I couldn't remember the words to keys. So I knew that something had to change because I was either going to become a statistic or I was going to end up in a straitjacket. So I decided to use some science-based tools to stop self-sabotage and to let go of accounts that were draining my energy. And I made my well-being and my relationships a top priority. Now, I'm not saying I've done this perfectly. I'm not saying this so that I can brag. I'm just saying that I made a six-figure income working less hours than my counterparts, so that you know that there's a way to get there and that your progress doesn't have to be slow and painful. And your progress doesn't have to feel like you're at it alone or that you have to pretend that you have it all together. So I'm excited to share how thousands of CEOs and top executives and professionals have used these tools to amplify their career. And your growth doesn't have to be frustrating. It doesn't have to be slow like mine. So what we're going to learn today is that you're going to discover your unfair advantage, that you can activate the part of your brain to unlock this leadership potential, this leadership growth. You can unlock your brain to boost productivity, recover from setbacks, and drive sustainable results. So we are going to talk about today the common mistakes that professionals make when faced with a challenge and how to overcome it. The most important and often overlooked part of sustainable productivity and the best way to boost your energy for maximum impact. Are we ready? Hope so. Okay, can anybody put in the chat this question? What do you think the answer to this is? What is the number one common mistake that new and seasoned professionals make? What do you think that is? Yvette, can you tell us if anyone has posted anything?
Absolutely. Over-promising and under-delivering. Say yes to everything. Those are the two that have come up.
Yeah, okay. So
I can do it all
over-promising,
by myself.
have to do it all by myself. Okay. A lot of these are self-sabotaging beliefs. But the big one here is they're being overcritical of themselves. They could also be overcritical of their team. Another thing that professionals make, their mistakes are ineffective self-management. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that they know that they're lacking self-management, and it's this inability to regulate their own behavior, their emotions, so that they could go after the desired action. And so no wonder with these common mistakes that 58% of sales executives don't achieve their sales goals. No wonder that smart and capable professionals are not getting the right promotion because they are overcritical and they are ineffective with their self-management. When we have these saboteurs, we call them sabotage, it creates this chronic stress. It creates an effect on our hormones, on our organs, and it affects how we recover from setbacks. So what if I told you all of this is in their head? Armando shared a personal story today about limiting beliefs. And that is what is also known as saboteurs. They are the voices in our head that generate emotions that are negative in the way that we handle everyday challenges. It's not who we are. It's not our personality trait. It's how we handle challenges. So the judge tells you to put off happiness until you get that promotion, until your kids are out of diapers, until your kids get their shit together, or until you get that big house by the lake, whatever that is. The controller tells you, I have to manage my team. I am so exhausted. I have to do it every step of the way. And the strickler tells you, if it's not perfect, why even bother? If it's not done perfectly, then I have to do it myself. No wonder we're exhausted. These are saboteur lies, and they lead to burnout. They lead to high turnover. They lead to low customer loyalty and to team conflict. So when we look at productivity and have it be sustainable, if we could keep in mind that a lot of people are self-critical, a lot of people are not managing their time effectively or themselves effectively, we want to then take a look at how then do we have this sustainable productivity. Does anybody here identify with the stickler saboteur, the little Miss Perfect, I call her, or the hyper vigilant? Oh, I've got to make sure that all the risk is evaluated before we take action. Or maybe it's the controller or the avoider. What do you think these saboteurs have in common when it comes to productivity? Well, they are all based in fear. The fear of making mistakes. The fear that everything has to be done perfectly. They're in fight or flight, and it's draining their energy, just like this poor woman on the couch. They are energy zappers. Do you guys know anyone that I affectionately call the perfect procrastinator, where they don't want to make a mistake, so they delay a launch of an idea or a project? Yep, I see some answers coming through. Ivette, can you share with
Absolutely. Diane says that's me. Kelly says I am an avoider. Kelly, I can relate to that. So am I. It's my number one saboteur. Kathy says thumbs up. So
oh, they're feeling it, huh? They're
yeah.
fear-based. They're fear-based, and they leave you stuck. They leave you stuck in pursuing career opportunities because you have not checked off every single box before you think you're worthy to move forward. They help you to play small, not big, and they get you stuck in the cycle of endless preparation and hesitation, which leads to loss of productivity. So if you can catch yourself in that cycle, the big thing that we talked about yesterday was becoming aware and still moving forward with imperfect action. So shifting your mindset from perfectionism to one of growth is what's going to help you sustain productivity. Who subscribes to the American out of office message you see on the screen? And all thanks to Kelly O'Connor. She's here on today's session. She helped me with this slide many years ago, and I still have it, Kelly. I love it because it gives us this mentality here in the US that your out of office message after having kidney surgery should look like, I've left the office for 2 hours to undergo kidney surgery, but you can reach me on my cell phone anytime. I know it's an over exaggeration, but our culture here is very different from the European culture. No wonder we're exhausted like this woman on the couch. So the way to overcome what I just set up as our problem, right, as our pain points, is something called sage perspective. Do you see a wine glass half full or a wine glass half empty? Type it in the chat when this came up. Now, the sage perspective is this, that anything as far as challenge goes can be overcome when we look at it as an opportunity, as a gift, or a way to grow. So it's not this, Pollyanna thinking, oh, everything's okay. Everything will be okay. I'm just going to pretend that this isn't happening over here. It's the science-backed tool that helps our mindset shift, and it expands our ability to think creatively, to solve problems efficiently. And that is by activating the right part of our brain. It's not by activating the left part of our brain, which is where logic and our skills are. It's by activating the other part of our brain. So I'd like to give you a little story here of a client that I worked with recently. She was procrastinating applying for a job. Even though her resume was done, all she had to do was hit reply and send, or hit apply and send her resume. So we did something in this SAGE perspective where it's called the blameless discernment. And we focused on the facts. So instead of focusing on that self-criticism, like I'm lazy, why aren't I, moving forward with this? I can't believe this about myself. She realized that her hesitation wasn't because of laziness. It was because she was afraid. She was afraid that she could not advocate for herself during the interview because she had worked at a company for over 20 years and didn't have to sell herself. So once we reframed this issue, she saw that she needed guidance on feeling comfortable in the interview process. And we were able to work through that. And she felt like now she could move forward with clarity. So we have to get to the root of some of these problems, some of these pain points that we have, or else we keep repeating the cycle. So this approach helped her to overcome being critical of herself and to tackle the self-management so that she could take action. So what I want you to take away from this is if you could use this tool and just focus on the facts, why isn't something happening? Instead of being overly critical, you can move to action and problem solve and have confidence. Another big thing is you're no longer in victim mode because things aren't working out your way. Number 3, we're going to talk about ways to boost your energy. This is where the action guide comes in handy. In a little bit, I'll share with you where we're going to talk about some of these strategies. So as a leader in an organization or a business owner, they understand that their competitive advantage is hopefully in the product that they're selling. But they're also in these 3 Ps, their platforms, how they leverage their tools for efficiency, their process, how are they being consistent with their messaging, and their people. How are their people focusing on quality interactions? How are their people being strategic in their thinking? How are they being creative? How are they building relationships? And how are they problem solving? Which one of these do you think is most important out of all 3 to boost your energy for maximum impact?
I've got people and process.
People and process. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It's a little bit of all of these, but if I had to weigh one just a little bit more than the other 2, it would be people. So I'm going to share with you today something called the high energy matrix that actually puts all 3 of these together, but focuses on people. So at the end of this part of our session, you're going to understand how to shift from your current state of energy into your ideal state of energy. So whether you're in reactive mode, we're going to get you to proactive, and you're going to design your own energy matrix so that you have meaningful results and less burnout. Are you guys familiar with the Eisenhower matrix? Yeah, I see some head nods. Yeah, this is a great way to prioritize your activities for the day. So if you're not familiar with it, if you can see here in the matrix to focus on things that are urgent and important, you do them now. Important and not so urgent, you plan for them later. If they're not important and they're urgent, you learn how to delegate or automate. And if they're not as important and not as urgent, you learn how to eliminate. So this is a great tool, and a lot of people use this. However, a lot of the issues that I run into with my clients is that they're here. They're stuck right here. Do it now. Urgent. Oh, a client calls you and is mad. Let me take this call. Oh, there's a meeting that I have to go to. Let me push off what I need to do. Oh, this is urgent and important, urgent and important. They get stuck in here and now they're in reactive mode. That is why their energy is drained. So why is it important to reserve your energy? Well, duh, we don't have an infinite amount of that resource, right? Unless, I don't know, you're 18. No, a lot of us are not. So, and we don't want to spread ourselves too thin. We don't want to focus on these low priority things or putting out fires all day long. It's exhausting mentally, emotionally, physically. So when this is done well, you have clear priorities. You can focus on meaningful tasks. You have more energy and you can have measurable results. And aside to all that, hopefully you have a good work-life flow when you do this. So this is an example of a salesperson who's in reactive mode. We talked about the platforms, the process, and the people. This is a tool that actually helps us combine all of that. So we're not going to jump too much into this particular example, but the goal here, if you see this person, they're mainly in battery draining activities that are more on the high impact side of things, but they're battery draining. Okay, so what we want to do is help this person avoid burnout. That was on page 8. Page 9 tells you a salesperson who's in this proactive state using this matrix. So let's see what shifts here when we move to this proactive state. If you can see here on time management, that has changed to just 3% of their time. They are now using this at the beginning of the week to strategize for the rest of the week. They also let go of some of the admin that was here at the bottom under battery draining. They delegated and automated so that there's still things that they're obligated to do, but it's less percentage of time. And the energy shift comes when they can eliminate and delegate those tasks that I talked about, because now this salesperson has more time to be in client meetings. And guess what? Her sales numbers are going to increase because she is now in the high impact, using her energy in this shift in the matrix and not at the bottom. Now, it's important to know we still have to do these obligations. There's still things I wish I could delegate everything, but I don't have all the money to pay for someone to do that. So it's not realistic to say that we're never going to have anything under obligations and never going to have anything in battery draining, but at least they're not heavy and weighing us down. So before we get into how you can make yours, I want to give you 3 strategies. If you turn to page 7, the 3 strategies in making your own high impact matrices. Number 1, we're going to shift from saboteur to sage perspective. Remember, that was that perspective of replacement judging of yourself and others or your circumstances, waiting until everything is perfect. And you're going to replace them with empathy, curiosity, outside of the box thinking. And we're going to get to action that's laser focused. You could practice that blameless discernment that we talked about. So you focus on the facts to recover from setbacks. Number 2 is we're going to optimize our time and energy. Energy is what you fill in that bubble. So we are proactive and not reactive. So how do we do that? We're going to schedule distraction-free time blocks like we saw in the Eisenhower matrix so that you could work on high impact work. That means our notifications are off on our phone and our computers. That means that we're not calling back our clients first thing in the morning. For me anyway, it meant I was going to see what projects needed my attention on that day, who I was waiting to hear back from. And I did it on my time when I had the most energy in my day. There's a tool, the Pomodoro technique, if anyone wants to try something like that, where you work for a certain amount of minutes and then you reward yourself with a short break. That can help you with your energy. I also know a coach who works for 3 hours in the morning. She lives across the street from a golf course and she goes golfing for 2 hours in the middle of her day. And then she comes back and works for another 3 hours. Now, I know not everyone can do that in their day, but what can you think of that energizes you? Can you meet at a coffee shop instead of in the same area of work every day to do your work? Remember that it takes 20 minutes to get back into the zone if you have interruptions. So companies are aware of this, and they are making days of the week where they don't have the employees of certain teams of their organizations don't have meetings. They call it no Wednesday meetings to promote productivity. And these are companies like Shopify, Meta, which is Facebook, and Asana. So maybe you could do something like that for your team. Number 3, rebalance your time. What can you do to delegate, eliminate, move around, to shift? I know someone who actually removes 1 to 2 things off her to-do list a week. Not that she gets it done, that she's like not going to do it. Like she unscribes to emails. Yep. Unsubscribe will give you some time back in your day wasting. And then, can you eat the frog first? Can you tackle that hard thing early in the day to build momentum? And then one thing I'll leave you with is, can you approach this with a different mindset of, I get to do this instead of I have to do this? If you have to eat a different diet because your hormone coach tells you dairy is no longer good for you, gluten is no longer good for you, instead of saying, I can't eat that, how about shifting your mindset to, I get to eat this so that I can have better health when I'm an old grandma? That was my own personal thing that I'm struggling with, because I love my gluten, but it does not love me. All right, now I'm going to give you some time to work on your own energy impact matrix. So if you go to page 10, this is what we're going to do. And on the activity column, let's just do 3, A, B, and C. You can keep going later on. We don't have a ton of time, but I want to at least get you started on this. So think about what your week looks like. Think about your day on a typical day. What are the activities that you are doing? And what are the activities that give you, that will move the needle forward on those goals that you set for yourself this year? So I'm going to give you some time to do that. I'll give you some ideas. They could be client meetings, they could be prospecting, they could be social media, networking, they could be business development. Don't worry about the percentage of time just yet. Just fill in the activity. I'll give you another minute. All right. Hopefully that was enough time. Remember, this is going to be recorded so you can go back to it. So what I want you to do under the activity, I want you to put a star next to the letter where this is something that will get you to your goal and it actually charges your battery. So this is the high impact battery charging activity. Put a star next to the letter that has that. Like, yep, this is what I need to do to increase sales. This is what I need to do to, I don't remember any other goals, but sales. To work on my relationship with my husband, to work on my relationship with my children, to get that promotion. Okay. The second thing is I want you to put an X next to the letter that is something that's battery draining for you, something you just don't like doing yourself, or that is a waste of time to do. So put an X there. Then I want you to put a plus sign next to the battery charging activities that really don't move you to your goal, that they're low impact. Maybe they're more like they're fun to do and you need them for a break. Like some people like posting on social media. I really do not. So I want you to put a plus there. And then on the last one, circle the letter that is high impact for you, that yes, you have to do, that yes, it's going to get you to your goal, but that it drains your battery. These are your obligations. You have to get this done. There's no way around it. I'm going to recap real quick. Put a star on the high impact battery charging things. Put an X next to the activities that are battery draining. Put a plus next to the things that are battery charging, but low impact. And circle the things that are high impact, but battery draining for you, those obligations. Now, what you'll do from this is anything that was a star, you're going to put on the far right quadrant. Anything that was a plus goes on the left quadrant. Anything that's an X goes on the bottom left quadrant. And anything that you circled goes on the bottom right quadrant. And I'll give you a few minutes to write those in those areas. All right. I would love to hear in the chat anything that you got from this exercise. I know I'm not giving you a lot of time to do it, but I'm getting you started on it. And if you want to use our time together to work on this, to strategize, you are more than welcome to do that. We're going to move forward because we've got about 10 minutes to go. On page 11, there's a way that you can reflect on what we just did afterwards. You can answer, this will help you to complete your matrix. So as we start to wrap up here, I wanted to share with you how I work with my clients to build a roadmap for their unfair advantage. And it starts with the 5 Ps. Today, it's prepare. We're working on mindset mastery. This is the program that we're hoping you'll want to join us for with either Ivette or Maria and I, where you really work on mastering the mindset skill, understanding your saboteurs. But then from that, as the foundation, we move on to how to strategize, prioritize, make a strategic plan, how to use your leadership to enhance your communication skills, and how to generate some strategies so that you can increase leads for prospecting. And none of this would even be fun if you didn't acknowledge or celebrate along the way. And that's one of the big things that I like to share with my clients on how are you celebrating these small wins every day. And it doesn't mean you have to go to Hawaii to celebrate. And that's what introduces our positive intelligence training program that we've been talking about so far. Yesterday was the awareness piece. Today is how to change your perspective and take action. And tomorrow we're going to talk about how to activate the self-command so that you can rewire your brain. That's what Ivette gets to talk about tomorrow. So if you only learn 3 things from this workshop, let's become aware of those saboteurs. Let's change our perspective and let's show you how to rewire your brain. This is the equation for lasting positive change. So, insight when you read a book, when you attend a workshop, when you go to a conference, when you, whatever it is you do to gain insight, that's only 20% of the equation. If you close that book, if you put away these notes and you file them in the circular trash can, you've gotten 20% of the equation. But really, to get lasting change is you need to work on your mental muscles. Just like when you go to the gym and work out, your muscles in your brain need to go from fight or flight to the part of our brain that can give you that laser focus advantage to get to action. I'd like to share just a quick little story to help you with this, getting this perspective on positive change. There are 2 bricklayers and they're working on the same job site. And somebody walks up to one of the bricklayers and says, "What are you doing? What are you working on?" And he says, "Well, I'm laying bricks one at a time." And the same person asked that question to the second bricklayer and he says, "Well, I'm building a cathedral." So when you think of changing your habits, think of your cathedral. What is your cathedral? Be mission motivated. Is it so that you have this promotion? Is it so that you have these relationships? Is it so that your well-being is priority? So when you get older, you can grow graceful with age? What is it? What's your cathedral? That's what's going to motivate you. That positive intelligence training program that we're working through has been trusted by these companies. And I have actually worked with the top companies here personally in their journeys, working with their teams. I would love to share a story for a current client who said, in just 1 week, she noticed a change in her relationship with her niece, and her niece noticed it too. And guess what? Her niece is a teenager. How often do teenagers notice anything? There's also a story of a client who's in sales who, as he started to realize what his saboteurs were, and he started to realize that his boss's saboteurs were kind of coming into play, he realized that he could not react like he normally would have, and he could turn the conversation with certain situations when his boss would say something to him, so he could communicate with his boss confidently. I thought that was amazing. He used it to his advantage. And I have a client who works as a VP in a bank, and it's a male dominated industry. And even though she was in this industry for 15 years, she wasn't being invited to the conversation so that she could grow her sales. And she realized that she didn't have the confidence when she was in these meetings. And so after the training, she said she became more present. She was able to ask better questions and had actually been invited to some of these meetings because she initiated them and built better relationships with her colleagues and clients. This company attributes $29 million in revenues from putting this particular program in their team. And these are some of the results that we see after 6 weeks of working on this program. Would love to hear in the chat what you think from all these statistics. What stands out to you?
Happiness. Yep, happiness seems to be the one that is standing out the most.
Interesting.
Encouraged.
That's awesome.
Feeling encouraged.
Tomorrow, that's going to talk more about emotional intelligence and why is that so important to have. But 98% of the people that took this program improved their emotional intelligence. And guess what? You don't have to be the smart person in the room anymore to get that promotion. You just have to be the one that has a higher emotional intelligence. And that's not static. That can change. That can go up. All right. We're going to share some. Oh,
can I
did
share
you want
one
to?
more? Yeah.
Yes, please.
So Melina says that it can be applied in any situation. She actually applied it to her relationship with her aging mother. Thank you for sharing that, Melina.
That's amazing. Yeah. And at the end of life, what's going to be most important, Melina? Having that relationship.
Yeah, that it was positive, not full of conflict.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you for sharing. All right. So there's always choices that we have when we, attend these workshops or we attend a conference or something. You have more than one choice. You have more than two choices. You can do what these women are doing and continue on your merry way, or you can try something new, try a new habit, open up new doors. Do you want to have that self-awareness? Do you want to have strategies that help you sustain your productivity? And do you want that ease and flow that comes with your well-being, your relationships, and your work performance? So it's not this idea of no pain, no gain mentality that we've grown up with. If that is the case, we would love for you to schedule a discovery session. And Maria, if you would type that in the chat. So you can schedule a discovery session with one of us, all three of us. You could figure out which one is a better fit for you. We all teach the same foundational program, but we customize it to you. You can customize it for sales. You can customize it for your career. You can customize it for your relationships. And you don't need to learn something new for all those things. You apply the same thing. for all of those areas in life. I do want to let you become aware that old habits do not open new doors. If you're feeling like there is no plan, if you're feeling like there are those squirrel moments that Maria talked about yesterday, or some inconsistent action, or just general frustration, we would love to work with you. I would love to hear if there's anything from today's session. I know we're up at the top of the hour. One thing you feel like you can use. And with that, I want to say thank you for your time.